was the reasoning behind the outfield move, please, sir? And secondly, where do you stand with Brett Martin as far as being ready to pitch?
Well, Brett should be pretty much. He had a 2-inning sim game yesterday, so I would say probably not today, but definitely tomorrow. I guess the move for Garcia for Taveras was just an offensive move. I think Leote's, in my opinion, is going to be, a future All-Star based on what he can do. I think right now, though, maybe a little more thump on our bench to be able to put in there, especially against left-handed pitching. We got a few lefties coming up. It might help us either off the bench or in a starting role. So I thought that we just felt that was going to help us the most.
Okay, let's go to John Radigan. Go ahead, John.
Woody, so much has happened since we last saw you. So first, just the thoughts about now that you're without Corey Kluber for probably at least a month. How does that hit you?
Yeah, it hit pretty hard. Obviously, when he had to come out of the game, I told you guys I was concerned. I think we always are anytime a guy has to leave the game. With Corey, I think it hurts more. Just I know it hurts our team. There's no question it hurts our team. But from his standpoint, it's heartbreaking, man. Like everything he's had to go through the last couple of years, all the work. You think about all the work he put in the offseason to get ready for this year. He had a pretty big chip on his shoulder to prove to people he was still the same Corey Kluber. Comes into camp, looked great. We have 3.5 months off, 4 months off. Kept himself in shape, did everything possible to be ready for this. Honestly, in the summer camp looked great. Everything was moving, everything looked like it did. Basically what we saw from years past in Corey. He was really excited. He was super excited to get going with us, and that first inning, his stuff looked really good, even though we found out he was actually hurt. So, I mean, from my standpoint, it's just, it hurts our team, but it's also just you think about all the time this guy put in to help us. He was really frustrated with that, but obviously we're all here to support him, and you never know. I mean, knowing Corey, he's going to do everything he can to get ready. Got to let that thing heal, obviously, but, he may be back in some sort of role in late September, into the, hopefully a playoff run, into the playoffs. It won't be as a starting pitcher, but 1 or 2 innings of Corey Kluber is pretty darn good. So if we can get that, we'll definitely take it.
Nice to have the depth that you have in order to replace him. How tough was that decision between Colombo and Allard?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely had a lot of dialogue on it, and we've had dialogue on this for a long time. I think what we saw from Joe the other day in a shorter stint, especially for the 2 innings, showed kind of his value. Against lefties, against righties, he can pretty much get anybody out, but he's got, power stuff in a shorter stint. So we feel like that's a huge asset to more of our bullpen. And Colby's, maybe the more starter mindset anyways, since he's, looking at the 2 pitchers, we felt like that was the best case scenario for us, is to keep Allard in the starting role and Joe in the role he kind of used the other day.
And last one for me, I mean, as you watch this Miami Marlins situation unfold, how worried are you? How does that hit you?
Yeah, I think we're all worried. I think we'd be silly if we weren't. I mean, it'd be silly for us to not be worried because, this virus is all throughout our communities, especially in certain hot spots. And, we're obviously in a hot spot as well here in Texas. So, we've been pretty vigilant, and I know that. And I know our players take it serious. Our staff has been taking it serious. I don't know what the situation with the Marlins, if there was any, negligence on their part or if they were following protocols. If they were following protocols, it scares me a little bit to think that that's a possibility. So I think all we can do at this point is just hope it doesn't, do anything to derail, baseball right now. I think we all have to do our own part, kind of like in society, honestly. We got to do our part to keep everybody safe, in our own walls. And I feel confident that we're doing that. But this maybe just sends a little bit more of a wake-up call to say we got to stay on that path. We can't let up.
Thanks, Woody.
Okay, other questions? Broadcasters will do you at the end here. Let's go to Evan.
So, Chris, you guys meeting with the team today to discuss code of conduct for that
Yes.
this afternoon?
Yeah.
Is there any chance that stuff would be provided to us this afternoon or evening?
I don't think so, but we're definitely going to meet about it as a team. regardless of the situation that happened in Miami, we were going to have this meeting anyways before we get travel on the road. So it's something we need to talk about, and obviously, in light of what's happened in Miami, it's even more important for us to discuss.
In your mind, other than the stuff that's been discussed in the operations manual, what are steps that you guys have to take to be extra vigilant?
The MLB protocols are pretty good. They're pretty strict. I think a lot of our conversations internally have just been, how do we, it's not about making it more strict, which I think our code of conduct is definitely more strict, but that's the way we wanted it. We wanted to have no chance, if any, there's, somebody's going to test positive. I think that's just, every team has had to deal with that up to this point, but I think the outbreak is what we're trying to prevent. And, if guys just follow the protocols off the field, especially on the road, when we're traveling around, constantly washing their hands, in their hotel rooms, making sure they stay inside, not going out and about, like all those things are, we're going to have obviously, pretty significant penalties for guys that break protocol, especially on the road. But we're confident that we can maintain and keep, if one guy tests positive, we can keep it at that. Hopefully that's our goal.
And then the last thing, changing subjects a little bit, as far as your pitching goes, Lynn threw 108 pitches, Minor threw 99. A lot of teams have not let their starters go more than 90 pitches to this point. You guys felt like you were prepared to go this way. Does the Kluber injury make you rethink any of that or slow anything down?
No, I don't think so. I don't think, I think that, obviously you're always kind of, looking internally and say, okay, did we do it right? Was he ready for that? I mean, he got hurt in the first inning, so it's, if it was pitched 99 or 100, I'd probably be kicking myself, but at no point was there any indication that there was something wrong. He felt great, obviously, in his warm-up, so that's what these guys do, and, we were careful when it came to getting these guys ready before they came in. We made sure that they felt fine. If they didn't feel good after their outing, if they were a little bit sore, we limited the number of pitches they threw the next time. So at no point have we tried to rush our guys or put them in harm's way. I think all the work that they did prior to getting here, we had to make sure that they were in that spot, though. When we first evaluated them when they showed up, we were very, very understanding of where they were and can we push these guys to the number that they want to be pushed. We don't want to get anybody hurt. We knew that there would be issues with that to start this season.
Thank you very much.
Next question, please. Let's go to Chris.
You just answered what my first question was going to be. So my second question is, obviously looking at the lineup, seeing Odor in the 3-hole, Andrews down at the number 7 spot. What's your mentality or your thinking behind those moves in the lineup?
I was thinking more of Danny, to be honest with you, trying to get Danny going. This guy's not a big swing and miss pitcher. I think it was a good matchup for him to get him kind of rolling. Rugi's been one of our most consistent at bats all camp. I want him up there. If I put Danny 2, then obviously putting Rugi in the 3-hole makes sense. So I want our best guys at the top. Obviously I like where Elvis is at. It's just a matter of putting him in a spot, where they can't manipulate our lineup later in the game. I think that was more of the reasoning for putting him down a little bit lower. Putting Frazier 5th, putting Willie, getting some righties around Willie so they can't manipulate us. But other than that, it had nothing to do with, it wasn't like Elvis's at bats haven't been good. I think they've been good. But I just wanted to get Danny going. He's a big part of our team, and we need him to be successful for us to have a chance.
My second question would be, now that you've had a day to kind of chew on the first 3 games, obviously, one bad offensive series in a 162-game season isn't going to be, as big of a deal as it is in the 60-game season. Have you had any kind of extra thought, and maybe the lineup changes kind of answer my question for me, but do you have any thoughts, a sense of urgency on how you address the lineup going forward?
There's been a sense of urgency before this whole thing started. As soon as I found out we weren't playing 162 games, there was a sense of urgency, and I expressed that to our players. this is different than, I don't mind moving the lineup around a little bit. If it gets our best guys at the top or our most productive guys at the time being at the top, we got to do whatever we can. Like I said, every game is worth 3 basically. So, you multiply, that was basically a 9-game series that we just played. So it was 9 games of struggle. Like we need to find a little spark or do something a little bit different. I don't mind doing that this year. And our players know that. And it's not, there's no panic or anything like that. I just want to make sure we put our best chance forward to create some, consistent offensive production. And it'll take, listen, I mean, if it in a week from now, if our guys start all rolling, like I said, we need Danny Santana to be good. We need Elvis Andrus to be good. We need all these guys to produce for us. But I want to make sure that I can move around, at times, juggle around the lineup a little bit to best suit us that day.
Jeff?
What does your gut tell you about this season? Do you think it's going to be played through its entirety, or is that in the back of your mind that we won't see the finish line?
I do, and my gut tells me we're going to play. We'll finish it out. I do. I think so. I think this is a little bit of a wake-up call for everybody in sports, to be honest with you. They think this is captivating, or it's grabbing the attention of a lot of people throughout all sports. And so we'll obviously get to the bottom of why this happened. But, I'm confident, obviously with my wife's background, knowing that, she's working with COVID patients every day, that we can avoid it. We can avoid it if we just follow the protocols, if we stick to what we're supposed to do. She works with them, face to face every day and doesn't manage to maintain to be safe and healthy. So I believe we can get through it as a league, as a team. We just got to be really vigilant with the way we handle ourselves.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Take a couple more. What else? Levi.
This might be a dumb question, but I'm curious about something. Players you evaluate differently. So, for instance, Joey Gallo, you kind of don't really look at the batting average. It's more the on-base and power numbers, right? With Rougned Odor this year, I know you guys have your internal stats that you're looking at, and things that we don't see on a stat sheet. But is there, for fans that are watching and going okay, is he living up to the things that they're wanting to see from him, even if maybe his batting average on balls in play is down and so his batting average is down or whatever? Is there a stat that you would suggest, maybe keep an eye on this one? That's going to be something that sort of tells the fan whether he's doing the things that we've been asking him to do this whole time.
Yeah, I guess, WOBA maybe, weighted on base average, is something you can kind of look at. One thing for me with Rugi is he controlling the strike zone? Is he making adjustments? Is he, his 2-strike approach is better than it ever has been, in my opinion. During our camp, he led the team in 2-strike balls in play. I know that doesn't mean he's hitting them all hard, but from what we saw, he was hitting the ball hard, even with 2 strikes. So that tells me he's made a ton of adjustments. When he gets pitches in his zone, he hammers them. And it's manipulating the data or, his game plan and his approach. That's where I trust him now, is he's able to do that. He's able to look at an opposing pitcher and go, okay, this is how I'm going to beat this guy. I know what this guy's going to do to me, and I know how to beat him to it. That's where I see the biggest growth in Rugi. Swing mechanics aside, he's made some adjustments there, but just his mentality, he's a better hitter than I think he ever really has been. So obviously we need him to be productive. We need legitimate results on the field. But I trust his processes. That's why I always use that word, to be able to handle all different types of pitching. And he's getting his good swing off a lot. And that's what we're looking for at strikes.
Thank you.
Okay, one more, Evan.
I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, but if the key to all of this is getting players to adhere to the code of conduct, because there's nothing you can do about communal spread if it's in the community. You can only address your vigilance. What's the biggest factor in getting player buy-in? Because it all comes down to that, right?
Yeah. No,
What's the biggest
I think it's getting player buy-in, like making them understand the importance of it. I think that's something. I don't even remember my first comment to, hey, what are you going to address this in a 60-game season? I said it. It was, safe and healthy. Like, we need to be safe and healthy. Like, that's number one. That's our biggest advantage this year, is just keeping our guys on the field and keeping our community safe. And that's going to take a ton of vigilance on their part, to not go out, to not, especially at home. We've been pretty good at home. We're living in a hot spot, and we've managed to say, we haven't had any, positive results. That tells me that guys are taking it pretty serious. So on the road, it should be somewhat easier, considering, we don't have the freedom to kind of go out and about. At home, we've been able to stay healthy. So we just can't let up. We've been good so far, but we cannot let up. And I think that's the biggest message today.